When most people think of the Alabama Register of Landmarks and Heritage or the National Register of Historic Places, they tend to think of things like old houses, historic commercial buildings such as theaters, maybe even schools or hospitals. But there's actually a wide variety of places in Alabama that are recognized in historic registers. We have barns, we have bridges, we have cemeteries, we have dams, we have bollards, and of course, a statue of an insect. When people are going to fill out the National Register form, they're often perplexed by this section where you have to check the category of property. So what we're going to talk about today is how do you know what box to check? How do we categorize properties that are listed in the National Register of Historic Places and the Alabama Register of Landmarks and Heritage? In the National Register, buildings are those things that are constructed primarily to shelter human activity. This includes things like houses, of course, but also schools, commercial buildings, bus stations, churches, all sorts of things like that. The buildings category also includes shelters for animals and machinery, such as barns, and also factories and industrial buildings, such as the Powell Avenue Steam Plant. In everyday life, most of us use building and structure interchangeably, but in the National Register program, structure has a very specific meaning that is a little bit different from building. A structure is made for something other than sheltering human activity. This includes bridges, structures constructed for storage, such as water towers, and also vehicles. So for instance, the Saturn V space vehicle is classified as a structure. The same would go for trains and also sailing ships. Also falling under the category of structure are man-made lakes, such as Vanity Fair Lake in Monroeville, dams, and also road systems and roads, such as planned roads like the Norwood Boulevard in the Norwood Historic District. Objects are primarily artistic and/or small in scale. Sculptures such as the Boll Weevil Monument are considered objects, as are monuments like the Lafayette Monument in the Water Avenue Historic District. Other examples of objects include boundary markers and signs that are substantial in size. A site is the location of a significant event. So for instance, battlefields like Horseshoe Bend Battlefield, that would be a site, or a landscape that has significance independent of above ground buildings or structures. So this would include ruins, also agricultural fields that have significance, and cemeteries. Sites also include archaeological sites and shipwrecks. A district is a collection of related resources. Most of us, when we think of districts, probably think of things like commercial historic districts, residential neighborhoods, or something like the Low Mill and Mill Village, where the mill and the housing constructed around it are all related to the construction of the mill. Districts also include properties that are complex and contain multiple resources. An example of that is the Macon County High School in Notasulga, now known as the Notasulga High School. And this property contains a main classroom building, a gymnasium, a lunchroom, athletic fields, and since all of these buildings are roughly equal in importance, we categorize them as a district. A district contains the other property types: buildings, structures, objects, and sites. So you have buildings in the Twickenham Historic District. In the Africatown Historic District, you have the Old Plateau Cemetery, which is a site. And in the Norwood Historic District, we have an object that is the bollard. Within a district, these resources are then classified as contributing or non-contributing. Contributing resources are considered listed in the National Register and are entitled to all of the benefits associated with that designation. For more information about the property categories used in the National Register of Historic Places and the Alabama Register of Landmarks and Heritage, there are two NPS publications. One is How to Apply the National Register Criteria for Evaluation, and another is How to Complete the National Register Registration Form. Both of these have more extensive information on how we categorize properties.